Alright guys, you're fully locked into my YouTube channel. Welcome to the very first show and the very first episode of a program that I'd like to call Beyond the Influence, where I'll be interviewing young individuals who have built a platform for themselves but are also using that platform to educate and inspire others. And this week, my very first guest is none other than Netanya, Nets Jenner. So thanks again for joining me. My first YouTube video, you're my first guest. So I don't know if that's a big deal for you or not. It's a big deal for me. But like before I get into anything else, what do you consider yourself as? Because you're a Twitter fave or you're a YouTuber or
I consider myself to be a generalist. So it means somebody who knows a little about a lot. Because I'm interested in a lot of things, so I do go to me to try new things all the time. I don't like to be tied down by specializations, so I'd rather just know a lot of things. Yeah.
But before all of this like social media popularity and being in marketing, who was Netanya like growing up? I know you went to Andrews. Like, who was that girl?
Okay, so Netanya is really an introvert. Some people didn't know that.
Yeah, that's hard to believe.
Yeah, I'm an introvert. I enjoy spending a lot of time alone. Very awkward and very shy as well. I didn't used to talk. So the fact that I have a podcast and a YouTube channel and I'm like hosting events and I be guests on different shows is actually very crazy because I spent most of my time just being seen and not heard. However, it was like Netanya before everything else. I would say it's just a very simple girl, very simple. Hang out with my friends, doing lots of jokes, but it was kind of like an identity crisis because even though that's what I was doing and like at my core I know that's me, I just always felt that there was something missing. Yeah.
So for someone like me who's equally shy, like really shy, and I want to host events, like what kind of courage you did have to build up, the first event that you hosted, what did you do?
The first event I hosted, I actually wanted to drop down. So there was nothing I could have done. I was shaking, my voice was cracking, and it just really gets better over time. You can't jump into it unless you're like really confident in what you do and you enjoy speaking to people and interacting with people. But for people like us, it takes a lot of practice. So you have to do more than one event. And it's just a matter of people believing in you because after that first event, I've had other events as well. So if people never believe in me after seeing me that first time, then I wouldn't have been able to get where I'm now hosting an event and not feel it anyway. I think when I realized, that I don't feel anyway was, I think, about 2 weeks ago.
Really?
And yeah.
How long have you been hosting events though?
Since last year.
Okay. What was your first one?
It was actually this pop-up shop last June. Yeah, it was a pop-up shop last June and they asked me and Daniel to host. And if you guys don't know, Daniel's my co-host for Next Chat podcast. So yeah, they asked me and Daniel to host and Daniel and I basically like each other's social crutch. So because Daniel is like shy and quiet and I'm also shy and quiet. So when we have each other, we can talk because we know that the other person is there in case me don't want to talk, then she jump in, and if I don't want to, if she don't want to talk, I jump in. So that was it.
I wanted to ask you about that relationship though, like with you and Denny, if I can. Like the friendship, how did that start out?
And I've actually known Danielle for 7 years. I met her through some mutual friends, but we never talked until I saw her. I had her on Twitter. And I was starting out my podcast again, and she was telling me, hey, I listened to your podcast before, and I was really like suddenly stopped. So I was like, I want to have you on as a guest. And she said, okay. And then when I was like rebuilding the podcast and everything, she came on, and at first we were just like my co-host and everything, but the more we do shows together and the more like we spoke, we became really close, and yeah, that's
So the chemistry that you guys have on camera, it wasn't like it was instant. Like you recognize that you guys, because you guys have really good chemistry. Like
yeah, we do. The episode was really fun,
yeah,
but I just, because remember, I was trying to host it by myself at first, and people were like, you have to carry her back on, she's so good at chemistry. And then I look at the episode again,
yeah,
and I was like, this is actually fun. And I messaged her and I was like, hey, you know, the people that want you come back, and I would love to have you back because the chemistry is undeniable. And she said, all right. And we've been on the podcast ever since. Yeah.
But all right, you said you'd like to see yourself as a journalist, but you can't deny that you are an influencer, and brands do approach you as an influencer. But what is an influencer to you? Like, do you think that's an appropriate terminology for you?
I believe that it is an appropriate terminology because the thing is, when you call yourself an influencer, people try to say, who are you influencing? Yeah. But even if you're not influencing that particular person, I believe that almost everybody's an influencer because people are easily influenced. Yeah. So it is an appropriate term. I never saw myself as an influencer still. Like, I was just having fun, you know, be myself and just talking. And I like to share experience with people, but as an influencer, for me, it is somebody who is responsible with their platform. And that is what I am trying to do. So a lot of things I do know. So like my master's, for example, it's not to get up, because I do my master's in marketing next year. It's not to work in marketing. It's learning to be more responsible in the content that you put out. So if I choose to be a marketer, then I'm learning the responsible side of things. And if I choose to be an influencer, I learn the importance of branding, the importance of influencer marketing, the importance of a lot of other things that marketing contains. So then when I'm putting out information out there into the space, it is from a place where it's not going to cause people any harm. And I feel like a lot of people need to recognize their influence in terms of, you know, not leading people astray, because people can listen to you, but you're giving them bad information. And I feel like if you have all of this power, in quotes, then use it for good. Be responsible.
So you feel like you have a certain level of responsibility to kind of uphold every time you log into a social media account and perhaps not say anything that you shouldn't?
Yeah, I feel like I do have that responsibility, but as an average social media user, you do have that responsibility as well. Is that when you are widely recognized, people are looking at you more than the average person. You know, so everything. So you could have posted an Instagram story and, you know, a red shirt and, you know, people are saying, oh, you're in a red shirt. I've had that personal experience where I wore a red shirt, but I work for a blue company. So it was something like that.
So how you deal with that though? That is not like a certain kind of pressure. I can imagine it being like you have to scrutinize every single thing that you put out there. Isn't that stressing for you?
Personally for me, no, because you grow over time. So when I was just starting out on Twitter, I wasn't, you know, I never cared about what I was doing because I was in high school and, you know, you're being careless and you're having fun. Yeah. So I had a lot of careless stuff, and then I lost my first profile and I was like, you gotta give me a chance to come back, because people have a habit of digging up your old tweets. So if there's nothing in existence that I was ever careless, then that's good. But after a while, I've learned to control what I was saying. So I think it's a growth thing. So if you look at the content that you put out 5 years ago compared to the content that you put out now, you're more cognizant of the fact that you are changing and getting older. So like certain things you can't say. Yeah. So as an influencer, you know, you have to grow into that. Because you're not going to get up one day and just stop saying things. But at the end of the day, you still have to be genuine to yourself. So even though you're not putting out certain things, you can't only do things because you want brands to recognize you. Yeah.
Do you fear that you might be dragged on Twitter for something? I remember, I think it was last week, Denny was in some trouble because of something that she said. But is that a fear that goes to your mind?
I've never thought about it because the thing is, people try to drag me, you know, I just don't pay attention to it. And the last time I can say that people really tried to drag me, my friends take up my problems on their head. So my friend them had to start arguing before me even see it and start arguing, because my friend said, Netanya, you're an influencer, don't want to argue with them people. Just call away and we come cause. Those are the type of friends that I have.
That's good friends. How do you balance social media and the personal life?
That's very hard, because I balance. I don't. Let me just start off by saying I don't.
Be honest.
People think that I'm doing really well, but I feel like a lot of times something is gonna get left behind.
Yeah.
I've realized that in recent times because what's getting left behind is my podcast because I have so many other things to do that I'm not giving it as much energy as I was giving it before. So what I'm trying to do now is to have a schedule of what I do because I get 7 hours of sleep. Like
That's a lot.
I have a sleep. If I get anything less than 7 hours, I'm miserable.
That's more than me.
So I have a sleep. I respond to almost everybody on Instagram who DMs me, right? Because
Why? Yeah.
well, the reason I respond to everybody who messaged me, not only on Instagram but on Twitter and YouTube, I try to respond to every comment because I want people to see that I'm seeing them, right? So if you took the time out to message your favorite influencer, some of them call me, and your favorite YouTuber, then I'm acknowledging the time and effort that you put into making this comment or sending this message that I'm responding.
True. Okay.
Right? And a lot of times people message me and say, I know you're not going to see this, but and sometimes I don't. So I have to be like scrolling to look for it specifically. But I think that it's just the type of person that I am. Okay. In recent times I can't respond to everybody and it's making me feel a little way because I know it's my thing. So I respond to people. I have a 9 to 5 and people don't believe that I have a 9 to 5. I have my YouTube channel, I have my podcast, I have friends, you know. And I try to balance everything with sleep, right? So I have to do everything. And it's kind of weird how I manage because everything gets done regardless.
Which is impressive, yeah.
It is. But how I work is I do things in bursts. So if I have something to do for the podcast, something to do for my YouTube, and something to do for work, I'll do everything one time so then I can get breaks for myself.
So it's not like a case where, so for me, with stream, I interview on the weekends and then I'd work in the week. So you don't only do your podcast and your separate YouTube like on the weekends?
I record during, the podcast I record on the weekends.
Okay.
Because, it's not only me, it's a team of us and, everybody have to take time out of their schedule. And so record on Saturdays and on Sundays, that's when I work on a podcast so I can listen to it. If it's ready, of course, look at the video, send it over to the editor, everything like that. And then on Mondays now, I work. And then if I realize that my work is slowing down between the hours of 12 and 2, then I say, all right, I'm going to shoot a YouTube video.
Okay, cool.
I'm going to do this. So I try to find time to do everything in one day, so I don't like to, say, maybe do it on Saturday, and then if Saturday come and I can't do it, I feel a little way. Yeah. So I try to do it as they come.
Right. So you mentioned the podcast. Before you started that podcast, what was the intentions behind it? Where did you see it going?
I don't see anything going anywhere, honestly. I do a lot of things for fun.
Okay.
So for the podcast, I started it for fun, and it's hard because people are approaching me for the podcast on a business level, but remember I started it as fun, so I'm still seeing it as something that I do for fun, which is really a bad thing, but I'm trying to curb that mindset. So I didn't see it going anywhere. It was just, me talking to people, getting some jokes out. That's pretty much the intention.
It's doing really well. It reached 5,000 subscribers recently. So
yeah, it's at 5,000 on YouTube now, and that's. I'm very happy for it, but I feel like if I was putting more of my energy into it, it could have been more than 5,000 because the page has been up for about a year.
Okay.
But, I'm still grateful nonetheless, and I do plan to realign my energy into the podcast because it's one of my favorite things to do. When I go on the couch and I start talk, I don't remember anything that's happening in my life. So. And
then your YouTube journey, you started that after you started the podcast. What was the aim behind your YouTube? Personal YouTube? So the aim behind my personal YouTube actually just for fun, because you say you don't really have anything. Yeah, I don't really start things with the intention of what am I gonna gain from this. I was on Instagram one day and I posted a lot of Instagram stories and people always like, why don't make a YouTube channel? And I'm like, that's a lot of work. So I'd rather show you guys 15 seconds of what I'm doing. And then I remember one week, me and my friends had a really, really crazy week. So I said, I'm going to do vlogs, right? Because I wasn't the type of person at the time to sit down in my house and just talk to the screen and everything. I'm more comfortable when I'm in a
friendly situation with my friends, and I feel like it can be more.
But you're really good at that, nonetheless. In your last YouTube video, the questions from your social media page.
Yeah, I have learned to be comfortable on camera because before, like even recording the podcast, I don't know if you guys like can notice. I don't look at the camera. I always look down, or I look at Daniel, or I look at.
You never look at Daniel.
Yeah, so I can't look in cameras comfortably until now. Of course, I've had a lot of camera experience. So yeah, I forgot what I said. Oh yes, so. The vlogs were really just to show people what me and my friends do during the week, because me and my friends will go out for 1 week straight, and it's just really, really fun. And because I don't have a lot of space on my phone to like have everything on my Google Photos they start full up, I will video stuff, put it on YouTube, and then go back and watch it, because I say we did enjoy this time because I do have the videos on my phone.
Okay.
You know, so that's really why I started the YouTube channel.
And you mentioned your friends, but your family plays a key role in a YouTube journey. Like, how important are they to your YouTube experience?
My family is very important.
They're very funny, by the way.
Thank you. So my family is very important, not only to my YouTube journey, but in like my life's journey, because they're very supportive. Like, people message me and it's like, you don't know how watching your family support you on YouTube cuts me. Like they were saying, you know, it's so good to see, but like my family naturally love excitement. So anytime something exciting is happening, they jump in on it. And so like the YouTube is just another thing. So they always watch my podcast and everything, and they comment and they post and they send me messages, but know that they have the opportunity to come into my videos. Then it's created a greater bond between me and my family. So when I go down there, they say, girl, oh, we never know this boy, or girl, with the camera, with everything. So finding out that I'm actually leaving to my master, my family is sad. They're like, I forgot to leave piece of yourself and the YouTube out there. So I might do that, like make them record and then they send me the video that I upload. So they are really like very supportive. I really love them in everything that they do and for who they are, because, you know, accepting that part of your life is a lot of things. It's something that a lot of people struggle with. But I've had the opportunity to, you know, really see my family for who they are and grow with them, and it's been a fun journey.
And they've had the opportunity to see who you are, and like that's interesting to me. There are some things that you discuss on your YouTube that if I don't want my family to know about certain things that me do. So how do you do that? Like that doesn't worry you, or you don't feel uncomfortable?
It depends. If it's like my Q&As and stuff, or like story times, it makes me, I think about them. So like when I'm done, so like in some of my videos, they can say a disclaimer saying, if you're a family, just stop watching.
But you know them are gonna watch.
No, them are gonna watch regardless, because that's, even my grandmother like watch me on YouTube, you know.
That's crazy.
Yeah, like she gets a new phone and she search up my name, and I don't feel a certain type of way because my family accepts me for who I am. So one of my aunts, which is on my dad's side, even my dad's side watch my YouTube too. So one of my aunts was saying that, say I watching the videos and sometimes here's a certain thing that I have to remind myself that she's an adult. Yeah. So that's what my family really have to do. They have to remind themselves that I'm an adult, and so it's acceptable. Okay. So they don't see me as, the teenager or the child that they once knew. And sometimes I don't even think they reach as far into my YouTube videos, and if they don't really say anything, because I made a specific comments at the end of one of my YouTube videos, and I really thought my family was going to blame me, and I don't know what stuff, Really? But nobody said anything. So I said, maybe they never see it. And sometimes my aunt will see me and she's like, you don't say it outside now? Yeah. I say, girl, and then they move on. So they really accept me for that I'm adult.
Is this the same aunt that went viral on TikTok?
Yeah, she was the one who saw me, and Poochie, she saw me and she was like, I don't say all time before you video about 3 times. She was like, I'm so surprised that you guys, it's not that we're talking on camera, it's just that we actually do the things that we're talking about. And me I say, girl. But my family mad. So we have this thing where we say it's a family thing stemming from my grandmother, where we do certain things and you're just like, oh, the family are just mad. So it's bound to reach somebody else.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So those are, that's the good side of what you experience in your journey. But every influencer, everybody has some issues, whether it's depression or anxiety. And your first YouTube video, you spoke about your anxiety. Do you have how do you deal with that, or if you do deal with anxiety or depression?
I was diagnosed with mild anxiety, I think about almost 2 years now. And it started off as like sleep anxiety. So like I couldn't sleep. I was afraid to sleep, not couldn't sleep. I was afraid to sleep in the nights. So I was always tired. So that's why I make up feel no, that I can't sleep.
Yeah.
And my doctor gave me some medication to take, and I'm like, I may not take this. The nurse at my workplace, she wasn't advising me to take them. She said try other things like exercising, so have a work gym, therapy and stuff like that. And that has helped me because I haven't taken any medication yet. But how I deal with my anxiety, at first I used to just during the pandemic I slept.
Okay.
But before I just never really acknowledged it. I just went through life being tired and just always thought I was just nervous.
Yeah.
And in more recent times that I've like accepted it and go to therapy, exercise, because exercise does help with my anxiety the most. I've been managing pretty well and I've become more confident, with myself, and my anxiety really hasn't bothered me, thank God, in the past, I think, month. Yeah, and it's almost 2 years, so
there's never a time where you have the podcast, you have your YouTube, you have your 9 to 5, you just say, oh, we can't bother this.
Every day?
Every day.
No, that's it. Every day. With the podcast, I just message everybody and say, I don't want to record anymore. I don't want to do it. I stopped my YouTube actually for months. And then my sister was the one who had to start stuff back for me.
Yeah.
And, Daniel was encouraging me, say, hey, just continue the year with the podcast, and if you still feel the same with 2021, then we can understand. But I really was just saying that I couldn't bother do this. I quit my job, everything, because I was just, it's not that I was feeling down, it's just that I was feeling like I didn't know myself, and it was really taking a toll on me because I didn't want to do anything. I didn't have the energy to do anything. I just really wanted to sleep.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand it's a really difficult journey because, as I said, this is my first video, and before I wanted to cancel 4 or 5 times, but I know you would have probably vexed and said, Jenny.
No, I wouldn't be upset. I'd be like, this is a sign. I'm saying everything as a sign. So this is a sign.
No, man, it's a lot of planning that goes into it. But okay, you have a foundation now. You have, your nets. Everybody knows you as Nets General. What's here? What goes on from here, 2021, 2022, other than your masters, of course, you're going to do your masters. What do you plan on doing socially?
Socially, that's a very good question, because that's really where I've been imagining myself. I would like to come out of corporate, of course, but as in working a strict 9 to 5. However, I'd like to do social consultancy, meaning I want to help other people build their brands, right? But not necessarily be employed to them. So they just have me, one person. So influencers, YouTubers, podcasters, because I do help people who do podcasts now. So, they ask me questions, give them the steps, follow up and stuff like that. I do want to help social enterprises as well. So different foundations, and doctors, and, bring awareness to a lot of issues that people, women in particular, face, and help it to grow digitally, because a lot of people have really good initiatives. However, when it comes down to the digital aspect, even though it's easy to just take up your phone and do something, when it comes down to the digital aspect and digital strategy of a lot of social movements, it is not that, I'm gonna say it's not that good.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's how I want to grow myself as a social consultant.
All right. And I think that's a perfect way to end. I mean, I wish you all the best with, firstly, your masters and that journey. It's 1 year, right?
Yeah.
And I wish you all the best with your personal life as well. So, but thank you again for coming here and starting off my YouTube channel.
No problem.
It went better than I expected. So
I know you were nervous, and well, you were nervous before, but you're not nervous now.
Not really.
So that's good.
Yeah. That's good. All right.
Thanks for having me, Brian. And you guys can follow me on Instagram at NetGenal. Subscribe to my YouTube channel at NetGenal. My podcast is called Net Chat Podcast. You can find us on every streaming platform that you can think of, and that even you can't think of because it's out some other places. And you can follow me on Twitter at RichBadNets. And yes, it is a play on Tommy Lee's Rich Badness.